What's up my friends, and welcome back to my YouTube channel. If you're anything like me, you probably clicked on this video because you were trying to find a way of cutting down those film scanning costs, and if that's the case, then you definitely came to the right video, because today we'll be talking about my $200 budget film scanner, which is sitting right over there. And it's a late night for me guys, it's raining outside, and I thought this would be the perfect opportunity to just sit down, talk about this thing and show you guys what it can do. So this weird looking thing is a Plustek Opticfilm 8100i. I know it's a bit of a weird name, but you can pick these up for around 200 bucks. I got mine for 200 bucks on the used market, and if you find a really good deal, you can probably get them for about 100 to 150 bucks. And if you're super lucky, I've seen some go for as low as 50 bucks, so that's also still possible. You can also get these devices new. I think that some sellers still have them in stock from the past, because these devices are really quite old. They're from 2014 and some people still have them in stock, so you can buy them for around 350 bucks new if that's something that you prefer. Also, if you start looking for one of these devices, you probably notice that there are many different versions. There's the 8100, which I have, the 8200, 8300, 8400, and many different other ones. But for the 8000 series, the higher the number just means it's a later iteration. So the 8200 followed after the 8100. And from what I can gather from the forums, there's no real big difference between them, and the scan results are nearly identical. So you can pick up the cheapest one, the cheapest option that you can find, if it's an 8100 or if it's an 8400. They all have a shared max scan resolution of 7600 dpi, so I think that these are basically the same scanners, just re-released over and over again, so there's no issue in getting a older or a newer model. Also, the 7600 dpi max scan resolution is a very high resolution, but in reality it ends up being more like 3600 dpi, which is still a very usable and quite high resolution for a film scanner. Let's quickly go over what comes in the box and how to set this thing up. The scanner comes in this neat travel pouch bag thing that includes everything that you need, all the cables and two different film carriers, one for 35mm slide film and one for your regular negatives. Also, it includes a bit of an older version of the Silverfast software, which is a software that you can use to scan and invert your negatives, and you can use to operate this thing. It has a USB-B port for data connection and a separate input for the power supply, and that's all you need to connect for the system to work. I have this connected up to my Windows 11 system, to my workstation here, but I've tested it on Mac as well and on Windows 10 systems, and it does work, so that's a non-issue. I think that this scanner might even work on Windows 7 because it was released in 2014, when I think Windows 7 was still pretty commonly used. You can decide to use the included Silverfast software, but honestly I like to work with ViewScan, and ViewScan detects the scanner instantly after connecting the USB cable. So I scan all my negatives in ViewScan and then convert them later on using the Negative Lab Pro plugin in Adobe Lightroom. Scanning the film is that easy. You simply take one of the film holders, either 35mm regular for your regular negatives or for the slide film, depending on what you want to scan. You place it inside and the holders can hold up to a 6 strip of negatives. And it can be a bit tricky in the beginning, but after 3 or 4 times of loading the film carrier, you pretty much get the gist of it, and it won't be a problem at all, and you'll be quite quick at it. Once the film is loaded, you simply slide it into the side of the machine and press scan in whatever software you're using. After that, you just advance, scan, save and repeat. Now let's talk about the results, and honestly the most important thing about this scanner. And the short answer is the results are pretty good, and I've been quite happy with this scanner. I scan all my negatives at a resolution of 3600 dpi and not at the max resolution of 7600 dpi, simply because, I don't know if I mentioned this earlier, but because I can't see a difference between 3600 and 7600 dpi, and that's what most of the people are finding as well who are using scanners like these. So to save file space, because it's about double the file size, about a 200 MB file if you want to scan at max resolution, so to save some file space I'll just scan at 3600, which is still a very high resolution. Let's check out some of the example scans and take a closer look at the image quality. As you can see, the images turn out very sharp and the colors seem to be quite accurate for my testing. Even zooming in 50%, the image still remains very usable, and keep in mind this is 35mm, so don't expect any mind-blowing detail. This is mostly not the scanner's fault, but due to the small size of the negative. Another YouTuber called Kyle McDougall actually tested the Plustek Opticfilm and this exact model, so the 8100, against his $4,000 Nikon scanner, and to be honest, the results were pretty shocking because in some images you couldn't even tell them apart, and the sharpness was really quite on par. Not quite there, but very similar. The only notable difference was in the colors, and not any weird problems as you might think, but just the Plustek seems to have a little bit less saturation, but luckily that's something that is very easily fixed in post, and when you're converting the negatives anyway, it's just 1 or 2 more clicks and you will basically be able to match a $4,000 scanner, which is a pretty wild concept. So what are my final thoughts on the Plustek OpticFilm 8100i SE? I think if you can find a good deal on one of these for 200 bucks or less, maybe on the used market, I would definitely get it because the results do speak for themselves, and the results are so good that they can't really be compared to anything else in this price range. Also, there are many pros to the system. The system is very small, it's very easy to use, and you can basically bring it everywhere and scan film. The only really con that I have for the system is that scan times are pretty slow. A 3600 dpi scan takes around half a minute, 30 seconds, and a scan at max resolution at 7600 dpi takes about a minute. So scanning a lot of rows at once can be a quite lengthy endeavor, but honestly almost all other consumer grade scanners have the same issue, and I think it's just an issue with the technology, and scan times just will take a bit longer on this scan technology. Concluding, I would say that if you don't want to spend the money on a DSLR scanning rig, I would definitely consider one of these scanners, and they are a pretty feasible option. And it really all depends on what gear you already have, if you have a macro lens already or if you have a light bed. But if you have nothing to set up a DSLR scanning rig, I think that one of these could be a pretty good option for you guys because it's very budget friendly and the results are great. And also DSLR scanning is a bit faster, but I think for this price point that is a pretty fair trade-off. Anyways guys, with that being said, I really hope that you enjoyed this video, and if you want, definitely leave a comment down below on how you scan your film. I really hope that you enjoyed this video. If you did, leave a like down below, and if you loved it, maybe even consider subscribing. We're on the way to 1000 subs, so a sub would definitely go a long way, and I will be quite grateful for that. Yeah guys, with that being said, I'll catch you guys in the next one.